Hey, it's an all new Enough Already podcast. I'm Fingers Malloy. She's Tracy Connors. Tracy.
Fingers.
The sun is still shining. The birds are still chirping. It's a beautiful time to be alive.
Oh, it's been a lot of fun.
Oh, I'm telling you, we had a protest over the weekend down in Indianapolis. I didn't find out about it until it was too late to get down there. But the buses were down there in full force, busing people in. The chants were lovely, as always, when it comes to a leftist protest. I believe there was a sign, and Tony Katz of 93 WIBC, Tony Katz in the Morning News was down there, tweeted it out. I think it said something like, "Fuck speeches, let's riot."
Cool.
So they're a fun group.
Yeah. Well, we knew that.
And it's only going to get better now that apparently Donald Trump wants Steve Bannon of Breitbart.com, who was part of the Trump campaign, to be part of his White House. And I didn't realize, I knew from the past that people on our side, some had a beef with him, whether it's the direction of Breitbart.com after Andrew's death, or we know plenty of disgruntled former employees over there at Breitbart. So we have been hearing a lot of people badmouth Steve Bannon over the years, but you and I've talked about it quite a bit, that he's always been great to us.
Absolutely.
I mean, I've never worked for the man, but
he sounds like a difficult boss. I mean, that happens.
Yeah, especially when you're running an organization like Breitbart.com.
Right. When you've got, I don't even know how many writers, 30, 40.
Something like that.
And you got to be on top of all of them and all of the news. Like, I've been in the room when he's doing work, and it's unbelievable how much he's got to keep up with.
Well, and then you've got You've got the London Bureau. You've got the, Breitbart, Texas. There's a lot of stuff going on.
Tel Aviv.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, when you run an organization like that and people leave, there are going to be some pissed off people when they leave. So you always got to take some of it with a grain of salt. But this week, it's exploded. The accusations that he's an anti-Semite, he's a racist, a white supremacist, and this is the first I've heard of any of this.
They started the white supremacist stuff over the summer. They just labeled Breitbart, the bastion for the alt-right.
Yes. But Steve
and
Bannon
Milo
personally
is the leader. Yes.
Is an anti-Semite, which is amazing because for someone who's supposedly an anti-Semite, he certainly has a lot of Jewish people around him.
Yeah, and the Second Foreign Bureau, I believe they launched Breitbart Israel and Breitbart London at the same time. So that seems like the move of an anti-Semite to me.
Yeah.
And I saw they're pointing to a headline. They point to all these headlines as if he was the editor, which is not remotely true. But okay, let's play this game. A lot of them are written by Milo, and they're purposely trolly. Like, would you rather your kid had cancer or feminism? I think one is like why birth control makes women fat and crazy, which is uproariously amusing to me. I mean, whatever. But then they had the piece written by David Horowitz called Bill Kristol, Renegade Jew. And they don't bother to tell you in any of the hysterical pieces that David wrote that.
Right.
a Jew writing about a Jew. And he had a piece yesterday that went up on Breitbart explaining all of this and just laughing at how absurd this claim of Bannon as an anti-Semite is, and pointed out, hey, I wrote that article and I wrote that headline and I would do it again tomorrow.
Doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter. You can present all this evidence and no one gives a damn. But I've been able to convince some of my lefty friends that are posting stuff from the Southern Poverty Law Center as if they're a credible source of information. So they've got a brief hit piece on Steve that says he did XYZ. There was this headline, not a single link.
Oh, no links.
And I said, don't you find that a little bit curious that there's no links to these things? Because I would love to be able to go in and figure out who wrote these pieces, because they're behaving as if Bannon was cranking out copy over there. It's like, no, he wasn't. He was doing docs. He was doing all the video feed stuff. You know, he did Clinton Cash. But yeah, he's against radical jihadis. Oh, what a hateful man.
Do we hold every headline against Ariana Huffington over at the Huffington Post against her?
Well, she was actually the editor-in-chief, wasn't she? Didn't she retain that title?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think she's a part of it anymore, is she? But at one time, she was running the show over there. So every single word that was printed over at the Huffington Post, we're supposed to hold her feet to the fire when it comes to that. It's amazing to me. I don't think that the left would do that, but amazing how the rules change for some people because of their ideology.
But I love this because everybody's just accepting this as fact because it plays into the story about Trump and he's also an anti-Semite. Let's remember this.
Yeah.
Even though one of his closest advisors is his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, who is an Orthodox Jew, and Ivanka converted to marry him. So he's got a Jewish daughter now, a Jewish son-in-law, and Jewish grandchildren.
And he hates them all.
Hates them. I think he's already invited Netanyahu to come to Washington.
Hates him too.
Yep. This is all a smokescreen, guys. He's the most devious bastard on the planet. But I do love seeing it. Lena Dunham calling Paul Ryan's office this morning to leave him a message about how distraught she is that Steve Bannon's going to be given a job as a woman and as a Jew. She's horrified by this. As if Paul Ryan has any say in Trump's appointments whatsoever. And, you know, it tickles me to no end because our friend Sonny Johnson was laughing about this all summer long. Oh, I work for a white supremacist publication. This is news to me. And the story of how she ended up at Breitbart was that she was speaking at a tea party and Steve Bannon's sister saw her and called Steve and said, you need to find this girl and give her a job. So these sounds like the actions of a racist to me.
Well, we can't dig too deep, Tracy.
No, I know. We can't look at just surface available evidence, apparently.
There's something more sinister here, and I think we all know.
Of course there is. Well, I love it that all of a sudden it's like we're worried about people being anti-Semitic after 8 years of Obama treating Israel like trash. And here comes Hillary taking all kinds of money from Saudi Arabia, Qatar, all these places. Yeah, the Muslim Brotherhood has it in their charter that they're going to push the Jews into the sea, I believe. But we're totally cool with those guys, and having a relationship with them does not make you an anti-Semite whatsoever. No.
Well, that would be actually...
She's friends with Sidney Blumenthal.
That would be a fun exercise.
That's good enough for me.
Just take all of the behavior from the Obamas, the Obama administration over the past 8 years, and nations such as Iran and other Middle Eastern countries that really are anti-Semitic, and claim that those actions were actually performed by Breitbart.com.
I don't know that it would make any difference. I don't know how you pierce this bubble, aside from him just having Netanyahu to the White House and having a diverse cabinet, which I think he will do, and not for diversity's sake, because there are some talented people that happen to have diverse backgrounds but are on the same ideological line. So you've got Peter Thiel in there now, which you don't see the left speaking about at all. None whatsoever. I mean, I don't know if you saw the 60 Minutes interview with Leslie Stahl on Sunday night.
No, I did not.
It was pretty interesting. And he was kind yet firm about stuff, because Leslie, like most of the left, didn't bother to read any of his platform or even listen to him, I think, during the debates when he described what he wants to do with Obamacare and such. So they're just, oh my God, he's already caving. He's going to keep the pre-existing conditions and that you can stay on your parents' plan until you're 26. I think he said that in debate 2. This is not news. It's been part of the proposal on the website that's been up there since June or July, maybe August. I mean, it's all readily available information, but why bother? But she asked him about people from the LGBTQZYX community being scared. And he's like, I don't know why. I got out on the floor at the convention and made a big to-do about that. And I got applauded. So I'm not entirely sure why they're scared. I've been a big fan of them. And I was reading, there's actually a New York Times article from, I believe it's April, about Trump's long history supporting gay, quote unquote, causes. He started giving to AIDS charities in the 80s. He went to Elton John's wedding. I don't remember, did Hillary go to that? Was that okay? I mean, she's the woman that calculated every move that she made. So she didn't come out in favor of gay marriage until when? Right after Obama did in 2012?
Something like that. Joe Biden actually dipped his toe into the pool of gay.
Yeah, he was their trial balloon.
Right.
But so she said, we're worried about the Supreme Court and overturning marriage equality. And he goes, why? That's done. It's done. Nothing's, and this is what I've been trying to point out to my friends who believe that Supreme Court cases can just be willy-nilly overturned by the next court. This is not how it works. I don't know who taught you civics. Apparently no one. And you didn't take it upon yourself to go investigate these things. So it's just very rich to me.
Well, I mean, you and I have talked about it for quite some time now. If you would point to who is the most tolerant when it comes to LBGT issues between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, before Donald Trump, the audacity to call himself a Republican, everyone would pretty much, oh, well, geez, Donald Trump. Wouldn't even close.
100%.
But now he's a Republican. So now, of course, the left is worried that there are going to be black vans trolling gay neighborhoods, throwing gay people in to take them to conversion camps.
Well, lucky for them, all the black vans have been rented to shuttle protesters about for the time being. Well, I mean, there's that whole conspiracy. Oh, Mike Pence is going to do all this stuff behind the scenes. You live in Indiana, Fingers,
right,
where Mike Pence has been governor for how long now?
4 years.
Is abortion still legal in the state of Indiana?
It is, but if you pumped him full of truth serum, he would not only eliminate all abortion in Indiana, he would take away birth control as well and put women back in the kitchen.
Oh, barefoot, absolutely.
Pregnant.
I don't know why anybody let us out. But point being, he's been the governor of a state for 4 years, and you can still get abortions. You can still buy your birth control. Gays haven't been rounded up by black vans. There's no basis in reality for these kind of hysterics.
There's a rush on birth control right now.
I think that's hilarious. I don't understand this at all. How? Well, you can't get more than a couple months of your pill. Your doctor shouldn't give it to you, I wouldn't think.
Well, unless your doctor's in a panic, too.
Well, that's potentially true, yeah.
But it's amazing to me that, okay, I guess if you're a millennial and you weren't paying attention between 2001 and 2009.
Maybe you're not old enough.
Yeah.
When you're in elementary school, I don't think birth control is high on your list of priorities.
I would hope not.
I could be wrong.
But clearly, all you have to do is get on your smartphone and Google, did Bush ban birth control?
Mm-hmm.
It didn't happen. Did Mike Pence ban birth control? Didn't happen.
No.
But yet we've got lefties out there. Lena Dunham, I'm sure right now, has a closet full of birth control because you got to stock up.
She's going to become a black market dealer.
Well, there was that whole Seinfeld Spongeworthy episode with Elaine where she...
Yes.
So, you got to stock up on your birth control pills. But I know you brought that up last week where Republicans pushed the idea that you don't need a prescription. You shouldn't need a prescription to get birth control pills. So how do you make the leap from Republicans pushing that to they're going to ban it?
Well, they don't know about that. Number one. And if you tell them, they get very confused because it's counterintuitive to them. It doesn't fit with their narrative that they've created and swallowed whole. And they also don't believe you when you tell them Planned Parenthood was against that because that takes away a chunk of their business.
Yeah.
If you don't have to go to them to get a prescription written. I mean, Lord knows nobody's going to them to get mammograms because they don't do it. Even though I'm still during this cycle, we had a Senate race, too, in Pennsylvania. Pat Toomey just narrowly beat out this woman, Katie McGinty. Mm-hmm. And she was running ads talking about Pat Toomey wanted to defund Planned Parenthood, was willing to shut the government down over this. And we all know that they provide cancer screenings, and they're showing her, she's obviously in front of a green screen or whatever. But projected behind her is a doctor's office with a mammogram machine. And it's like, you filthy liars. I thought everybody, no, I can't ever believe that everybody understands the nature of reality. I don't know if I need to start calling Planned Parenthoods and recording it and asking when I can have an appointment to get a mammogram done and then have them tell me, oh, we don't do those. We'll just do a referral for you.
They give you a Groupon, don't they? I think that's what they do.
Something like that.
Mammogram Groupon. I don't know.
Yeah.
I know they give out free condoms.
Yes.
They do that too, which
if birth control was available over the counter would be basically the only thing that they did anymore.
Condoms are terribly expensive, Tracy.
Yeah, bank breakers. They're almost as expensive as birth control pills.
Yeah. But the freak out continues. We've got over the weekend we had people protesting. In Los Angeles, Portland was huge. Chicago, yes. New York,
Philadelphia, Phoenix.
What did you see in Philly?
I didn't see anything. I don't live in the city and I don't go there if I don't have to. I was talking to one of my buddies. I mean, it was interesting to see who came out of the woodwork, right, friends-wise for me, that had been quiet the whole time. And I got a text on Wednesday morning from one of my friends who is still in the entertainment business. And I think she's probably worked her way up to executive producing now. And she was like, how great is this? I was like, I know, it's awesome. And then I was talking to one of my other friends, and he's a Teamster. And I guarantee you that a bunch of them did the same thing. And he was like, this is so great. This is so awesome. And I was like, are you seeing them? Because he lives in the hippie kind of hipster area of Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. I was like, are they out on the streets there? He's like, nah, not yet. But I'm thinking when they come, I might get in my car and just try to break through their little barriers. Like, I don't know why they think this is still an effective tactic. Like, let's block traffic. All right. Tell me how that works out. We just had an election where the popular vote was split almost 50-50. Yeah. So you're willing to piss off 50% of the people you're stopping in traffic who are on your side to make a point. No, this is not working, kids.
Never understood it. I'm on my way to work. I'm running late. And all of a sudden I come up on 400 people blocking traffic to where I'm going to be really late for work.
That doesn't make you sympathetic to their side?
It makes me want to go to makes me want to put on a Make America Great hat. What it makes me want to do, if I'm on riding the fence there, it's simply amazing to me. And now we have the narrative out there that we have a bunch of people in red hats. They're Trump stormtroopers who are harassing Hispanics, Muslims.
Yes.
Black people.
It's rampant. Well, they're putting up swastikas everywhere.
Yes.
Apparently.
It's a new day in America.
That's how I was talking to my sister about this, and she's not particularly political. She did pull the lever for the God Emperor Trump. Mm-hmm. And she's got a friend that lives in that same kind of neighborhood that I was just describing in Philadelphia. And apparently she's Indian. Mm-hmm. And not the native kind, the kind from the actual country of India.
Yes, okay.
And she saw a swastika painted somewhere in her neighborhood. This is hipster heaven. And I mean, there is an element of, like, my buddy that's a Teamster, there is some of that where it's like North Philly Goombas that used to live in South Philly, and they moved up there. So it's Italians, union worker guys. I don't think they're running around painting swastikas. And my sister said, it doesn't even make any sense. Like, who celebrates by swastikaing up the neighborhood? No, it doesn't add up. But she can't say that to her friend who's distraught. And I don't know why, as an Indian, you're afraid of swastikas, but okay. Like, just look at it as the peace symbol that it used to be before Hitler got a hold of it.
I know most people don't pay close attention to this stuff, and especially as, like we do. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't take long to do the research necessary to see that leftists pull this shit all the time.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't, 7-8 months ago, you had that leftists accuse Whole Foods of baking him a hate cake when it comes to, what was it? What was it?
Love wins fag, I think is what it said.
Love wins fag on the cake. I mean, how many of the stories popped up for the past 2 years of waitresses, gay waitresses or waiters claiming that a Christian couple came in and wrote nasty notes on their receipt about their lifestyle choice?
Well, and then there's been people that have spray painted their own houses later to be found out. There's one of my favorites is this woman that beat herself up in a parking lot, and there was video of it that eventually the police found because she had been, this is somewhere in the Midwest, I think, maybe it was Tennessee or something, and she had been at like a Travis Tritt concert. And then afterwards at the bar, somebody mouthed off to her because she looked like one of them LGBT types. And they took her out in the parking lot and gave her a whooping. Well, we find out later that she beat her own ass, like Fight Club style, in the parking lot on camera. So I have a very attuned stink smell for these stories. And I swear I haven't seen anything, and I Googled it yesterday, and there's no update. That black church that got burned with "Vote Trump" written on the outside. Mm-hmm. I maintain that will be 100% that's fake. It's too on the nose.
Well, and then you've got the story, I believe, out of Texas where a black man was going into Chili's to get his free meal for Veterans Day. And apparently, as the story goes, he brought in his service dog with him. The service dog's name was Barack. And he was sitting down there having a meal. One Trump supporter who had Trump shirt on asked him where he served. And when he said Germany, this white, evil, racist Trump supporter said that's impossible. They didn't let black people serve in Germany, and walked away. And then he's got it on tape where the manager of the Chili's takes his food away from him, and now you've got all these protesters outside Chili's.
But that's the only part of it you have on tape is the
food
being taken away. Oh, okay.
Yeah, he claims that he presented the server with his military papers and his military ID, and yet they were taking his food away from him because they don't believe him, because of course they don't believe him because these people are evil racists and probably voted for Trump. But the only thing you catch on video is the part where they're arguing about the food and the Chili's manager taking the food away. Which
interesting.
Which of course, you kind of look at it like, okay, if the guy's that crazy, why don't you just
let him have his damn food?
Yeah, let him have his old timer burger. But you don't know. Here's the funny thing, and this is where people who have been observing the political left for years can pick apart the story, and the whole thing could be true. It really can be true. Who knows?
Yeah.
But say I am a leftist activist who wants to make some news, and I want to, I hate Chili's, and I want to push the narrative that you've got the Trump stormtroopers out there attacking people of color and Muslims and the whole nine. So you could go into a Chili's, claim to be a military veteran, when they ask for your papers, show them something that's obviously fake.
Mm-hmm.
And
well,
then
remember, stolen valor,
yes,
totally acceptable.
Stolen valor. And then once this whole thing breaks out and you see the video of the manager taking the food away from this veteran, people get all outragey, and then you present the news media with your real paperwork. Yes. I mean, there's no video of him showing his paperwork, the papers that his military ID.
Well, and you're also telling me there's no video of the initial confrontation that he says happened.
No.
So if this was a video put out by James O'Keefe, people would be screaming selective editing.
Absolutely.
But no, they want as many of these stories as possible, and they don't give a damn whether they're true or not. And I think Reason has a good roundup of all the phony ones so far.
Yeah, I believe there was a Muslim woman in California who claimed to...
Yeah, someone ripped off her headscarf.
And then she later came out and said, okay, I made the whole thing up.
Yeah, I mean, there have been so many high-profile versions of this story that something really, really bad happened to me by the demonized group. I mean, just Jackie Coakley's story in the UVA. Rape. Mm-hmm. Like, that's the highest profile one that I can think of from recent times. And then there's Mattress Girl at Columbia as well. But there's a whole industry of this. If you want attention, this is a perfect way to go about doing it. And the left-wing press will lap it up.
Right. And then the truth comes out 3 months later on page A16 of the newspaper, if you actually buy it.
If it comes out at all.
Right.
No, Malkin's been really good about these over the years, cataloging them. And I believe the site is fakehatecrimes.org, where they keep a tally on them. And they actually do follow-up work to see where these things go. But I mean, it's getting to the point where some of my friends who voted for Hillary are now saying, holy God, guys, like, this is ridiculous. A lot of these sound made up. And I can't remember one, but there was some woman that said her car was lit on fire. She's a vet that's also now transgendered, lives in Tennessee, I believe. And her pickup truck had the words Trump spray painted on it, and then it was lit on fire in her driveway.
Oh, of course.
She didn't take any video of this when it was happening. Sure. And I'm just like, nope, this reeks. This stinks. And Cernovich actually wrote a good piece a couple months back of how to spot a fake hate crime and took you through, like, step by step, like how to observe, read through an article and see what sticks out as fake and stuff like this. So I will make sure to add that to the Facebook page if anybody wants to give it a read. But it's pretty common sense. Like, if it's just too on the nose and fits their narrative, you should be questioning it.
Right.
And if America was as racist and as intolerant as they want it to be, then they wouldn't have to go about making up these things. There would be enough of them that they could have a new one to report every 6 or 7 hours.
Well, there actually was an attack caught on tape.
You're talking about the Chicago incident?
But it was a Trump. Well, it wasn't even a Trump supporter. It was just a white guy getting yanked out of his car and people beating the crap out of him because they think he may have voted for Donald Trump.
And they're clearly saying that's what you get for voting for Trump or something to that effect, is They're kicking the shit out of him in broad daylight. And I don't know who it was on CNN that they confronted her about this. And she was like, oh, yeah, poor white people. Wow.
Then they wonder why they lose.
Right. But how is that woman not yanked off of the air immediately? I'm sure she was back the next night.
Of course.
Like, the news really isn't doing any kind of introspection. They're just doubling down on this anger and just purposefully not understanding at this point, I believe. I mean, today the big scandal story is, I don't know if you've seen this or not, but there's a rumor. And it took me a while to get to the part where they're like, well, it hasn't been substantiated yet. So who knows who floated this? But I think it's funny as hell that Trump is trying to get security clearance for Don Jr., Eric, and Ivanka. They are losing their goddamn minds. I've seen at least 3 CNN panels specifically devoted to this topic and how outrageous it is. And I was sitting there this morning watching it because that started last night. This morning, they're still talking about this as if that's the most important thing. It's either we're going to talk about how Bannon is a white nationalist, white supremacist, anti-Semite, or we're going to jump over to, can you believe he wants his kids to have security clearance? Oh, my God. And I'm sitting there. Wait a minute. You guys were not the least bit skeptical about Hillary Clinton's emails that we've heard from intelligence agencies. There's a 99.9% chance they were hacked.
Yeah.
Exposing all kinds of state secrets and making her vulnerable, the president vulnerable. No, this is a bridge too far.
Well, no, I think as a gesture of bipartisanship, reaching across the aisle, Trump should also include Hillary's maid.
I know.
To being able to get some sort of security clearance. But no, it's amazing. I've got a friend who writes, and she thought she scored an interview with a university student in her town, but she's afraid to speak out about the bullying happening on campus against Trump voters. She's afraid she'll lose her campus job.
That doesn't surprise me. She probably would.
I mean, think about this first. Take that great Make America Great hat that you have.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? We'll fly you to Berkeley, put that on, and try to walk through campus and see what happens to you.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I haven't worn it since the election.
Yeah?
I'm scared to do it, to be entirely honest. Like, I don't want to
poor
provoke
white person. Poor white people.
But I don't want to provoke anybody. And it's just that people have it in their heads that me wearing that hat means the same things that they're saying about Steve Bannon. So the only way I would do it is if I was out with a group of my friends who are diverse. If I went out with my Colors of Benetton friends, which exist. I know that's difficult for some people to believe, but I'm not going to go. I was like, I was going to Walmart. And I love Walmart. I go there every week. I know all the cashiers there. Uh-huh. They're my friends. I chat with them, give them diet tips, which they never take. But I guarantee you, if I went in there with that hat on, I would probably get the side eye. And I wouldn't be given any time to explain. I mean, maybe some of them secretly voted for him and they would tell me that. But it's not a risk I'm willing to run.
Well, I have a gentleman.
And I figure as a woman, I might be a little bit safer, but you never know.
Oh, yeah. I work with an old white guy who he's my prepper friend.
Yes.
And for the first time, really, and I don't think I've ever seen him wear it. He has a Make America Great hat, and it's an authentic one. Even has the Trump. It's got Trump on the back and the whole 9 yards. He was walking through work last night, and he was getting a whole bunch of shit. Oh, is that made in China? It's made in China, wasn't it? It's made in China. I mean, nobody threatened to kick the crap out of them because they were at work. Right. But who the hell knows? Outside of work?
Yeah.
I mean, they're trying to stop Hitler, Tracy Connors.
That's true. It's true.
He's literally Hitler.
100%. I'm still seeing people making this comparison and people that are credentialed, which is just hysterical to me. And there's nothing that he's done post that. Even Van Jones had to admit that he's been perfect. That they couldn't have scripted him better. That he's been pretty nice. But I want to tell these guys that are out in the streets, first of all, you're pissing off some of my friends who were on your team to begin with. So please keep doing it. But if you actually want to do something worthwhile, you got to join the group that was in D.C. just yesterday protesting outside of Schumer's office. And they got arrested because they want Schumer to step aside as the new minority leader because, our good friend Harry Reid is leaving.
It's a shame.
Not before taking a couple of cheap shots at Trump. And I hope we appoint a special prosecutor to investigate how he got so goddamn rich while he was doing his public service. But yeah, so 17 protesters got arrested yesterday. There were, according to The Hill, there were about 40 people there urging Schumer to step aside and hand the party's leadership, get this, to either Bernie Sanders, who's now back to being an independent, or Elizabeth Warren.
Oh, please. Oh, please let it be Elizabeth Warren.
I love this. Well, this is the direction they're taking. They're going to go hard left.
Let's hope.
Oh, Keith Ellison. He's going to be the head of the DNC if they have their way.
Oh, let's hope. let's hope. I mean, if you try to draw up a strategy on how the left or how the Democratic Party will continue to lose elections.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you just had, what was it? The day after the election, you had media outlets talking about how they need to actually open up bureaus in the Midwest so they can understand flyover
foreign country.
And it goes from that to, we really should have Elizabeth Warren in leadership. Yes, please do.
Well, and Keith Ellison.
Yes.
Who is funded big time. I think he's got connections to the Muslim Brotherhood, to CARE, to all these things. But he's a sage fingers because about a year ago on television, I think it might have even been last summer, he was like, we shouldn't be laughing at Trump. The man stands a good chance. So just as Michael Moore set himself up, too, to be a sage, so did Ellison. And now they're like, well, he saw it coming. And we were so
saying
blind.
That, too. Where's our job?
Well, we're not DNC operatives.
So why isn't the White House and the RNC swooping us up and taking us to Washington?
I'm not sure. I'll put in a call or two.
Well, what are you making of, you're starting to hear names, potential cabinet positions being filled. And I did see Michael Savage. There was a headline on Drudge. I didn't read it because I'm not as big a Michael Savage fan as I used to be. But supposedly he said it looks like Jeb Bush won the election. I mean, there are people on our side who were, all in for Trump. Mm-hmm. Not even letting him announce what his cabinet is going to be before they're criticizing.
Well, I mean, this is keeping the pressure on, I think, is what this is.
I mean, I can understand getting nervous. Right after the election, we're hearing some things, not necessarily from Trump's mouth.
No.
About what Obamacare may look like. What his immigration strategy will be.
But this is all stuff that he said during the campaign, so I'm not entirely sure we're treating this as new information. He had always said we're going to deal with the criminal illegals, which is, I know, redundant, but the gang members, the drug dealers, the rapists, the murderers, the chronic drunk drivers, those kind of people, we're getting them the hell out right now. They get out, the wall goes up, then we deal with everything else. This has always been what he has said.
I had a coworker back in 2001, and I can't remember the exact circumstances of the accident that she was in, but she got T-boned. Her and her girlfriend got T-boned by a 16-year-old illegal. And the cop just let him go.
Yeah.
And she was like, what? He's like, nothing I can really do about it.
Yeah. This is why I don't understand the civil disobedience, why we don't allow to say we're illegals. I mean, by definition, they can't figure it out, right? As long as they don't have your fingerprints on file, there's no way for them to be like, no, you're actually a citizen. Sorry.
Yeah.
If you don't give them your name, done. Nope. And let's not pretend that illegals are only Mexicans here. You could get away with pretending to be an illegal from a lot of different fun countries.
Yeah.
So pick an accent that works best for you and stick to it. I'm serious. I mean, when I'm tan, I can pass for, I believe, at least in my mind, some either Central or South American country. And I speak enough Spanish to get away with it, I think. I mean, it takes balls to do something like that, so I probably would never, ever do it, but I think it would be a fun experiment.
Hola, ¿cómo está?
There you go. No, all you have to just say is no inglés, no inglés, no inglés. And then the other word to know is abogado, which is not avocado. It's abogado. That means lawyer. Mm. Yeah. That's it. And I think you probably they're like, see you later, bye.
Don't say you never learn anything on the Enough Already podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
I know. But don't take legal advice from us either. I will not be held responsible. But if you do go ahead and do that, please videotape it because we'll have tons of fun watching that go down.
So you believe, as an Irish woman, that you can pass yourself off as Central American if you spend enough time in the sun?
Yeah, I live down there. Believe me. I mean, I have, when I'm tan and I've got dark hair and darkish eyes, that's pretty much all you need.
Well, did you see, again, I wake up in the morning right before we do the show, and the first thing I do is go over to Drudge.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see the story on Drudge about the 5-star resort outside of Dallas that's specifically designed for preppers and doomsdayers?
No.
60 miles north of Dallas, far away from the constant roar of traffic, there's something going up in rural Fannin County that's generating buzz. The buzz is not just among the residents. Oh, damn it. My screen's jumping all over the place. The buzz is not just from the residents of the nearby tiny town of Ector, Texas. How many times have you been to Ector, Texas, Tracy?
0.
But developers said it's also among those who live as far away as Europe and even Australia. Richard Witt, communications director for the community, said it's going to be one of America's most fun, most plush, and one of the safest neighborhoods. It's going to be a 5-star resort with DEFCON 1 preparedness.
Awesome.
They're going to have a 50-foot solid marble statue and fountain costing $3.4 million.
That seems like what you need to survive.
Yes. But that's what's going to lure potential residents who may have a bunker mentality and are preparing for doomsday, yet still enjoy the lap of luxury.
Okay.
It's going to be like the Bellagio fountain, Tracy, but the amenities in this $300 million development include a golf course, equestrian center, spa, gun ranges, stores, and restaurants.
Is this all above ground?
There will also be helipads. There will be a bunker.
Okay.
As many as 1,600 people will live there. It's all going to be invite only. There'll be a 12-foot wall built around the community.
12?
Yeah, 12 foot, which will feature watchtowers, a DNA vault, and an air purification system.
Yeah, something tells me this is never happening. This sounds like something that Beck's up to.
Well, it's north of Dallas.
I know. That's what I immediately thought.
Starting price is only $500,000.
Oh, I wonder if I can get in early on this, but I need an invite.
Should probably got to believe we know somebody. No.
Yeah, here's the deal. If you had 2 or 3 people that had that kind of money, you just buy a damn island.
Yeah. But phase 2 is for everyone.
Oh. Is that a trailer park?
There's already a waiting list of 500 people from across the United States, Canada, England, Australia, and New Zealand.
Cool. Does this community have a name?
I'm not seeing one.
That's disappointing. Yeah, I wonder if the prepping will slow down a little bit now, or if it will just ramp up.
Oh, yes, there is a name.
Huh.
Trident Lakes.
Okay.
And if you're really curious about Trident Lakes, there's a website.
We'll link to it.
I don't know, and I brought up my prepper friend earlier. And while I believe you should have some food on site there in case something goes horribly wrong.
Or just in case we're getting to winter now. And
Yes.
where you and I live, it happens once or twice a season that there's a decent snowfall and you might be stuck at home for a couple days.
And we crack up as soon as they make some sort of announcement that there's a storm whipping through with a foot of snow. Everyone rushes to the Walmart to buy 16
Bottled
cases
water.
of bottled water. But I agree, you should have some food on hand in case something like that happens or something else. But to me, in a lot of ways, if you make that your lifestyle, it's a lot like what it's like to be a leftist who is always outraged about something. I don't know how you enjoy life if you think, tomorrow is the day where it all goes to shit and I need to go into my basement and live off of jarred peaches that I canned 6 years ago. I just don't. How do you enjoy life if that's your lifestyle? I just don't. It doesn't compute.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like unnecessarily high levels of anxiety. But if it gives you peace of mind, maybe that's what it is. And it's a hobby, I guess.
Maybe prepping is a natural Lexapro.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Why not? I mean, I feel better when I know I'm prepared. Like, we were just making fun of the people that go out for the storm, and we can make fun of them because we're prepared. Like, I don't know who these people are that only keep a day's worth of food in the house. When did we become Europeans? Or South Americans? I mean, it was unbelievable living in Venezuela just to see that they went to the store every damn day to buy food that they were going to eat that day.
But that's how spoiled Americans are too. I mean, I've got.
Well, it's also that we have refrigeration.
Well, there's that, but I'll open up the pantry and open up the refrigerator, and there's plenty of it. If it came down to it, there's plenty of food.
Sure.
But I'll say, there's nothing to eat.
Right. There's nothing that I want to eat.
Right.
That's the accurate statement.
Right. But, we've joked for a while about the whole thing coming to an end, but I can't imagine actually shopping for property with other people who think can you imagine living in that community? It's going to happen tomorrow, Jim.
Right.
Tomorrow's the day. You're surrounded by preppers.
There must be an ongoing betting pool. N times ticket. Yeah, and I mean, there's probably people betting on the form it will take as well.
Yes.
So is it like we're going to be overrun with martial law? Like, what was that? Do you remember the name of the military exercise that was going on down in Texas, I want to say, and everybody was freaking out? Like, this is actually them gathering arms and they're coming to get us. I remember that bleeding. It started on InfoWars and then it bled over into the conservative talk radio sphere where people were calling in and saying, is this real? Like, what's going on?
Black helicopters, we're seeing them everywhere in Texas.
Yeah. Oh, and that's another thing. Speaking of Alex Jones, the left is going batshit crazy because he put out a video saying that Trump called him personally to thank him. And they're like, dear God, oh my God. And it's like, really? Yeah, he says some nutty shit from time to time. He does. You just have to be able to write that off and just say, okay, that's when Alex took the left turn into far craziness. We can forgive him that for the other stuff that he's done. I mean, he's been relentless about the Clintons.
I'm sorry, but I know of at least one time when Barack Obama had the Daily Kos people in the White Heuse for a visit. And
he's had a lot of... He had that guy Bob Kramer in there, the one that sends out people to beat people up and that went to jail for fraud. Yeah, I know. They embrace their crazies. And how dare you call them crazy? And I don't even know that. I think Jones is a little nutty, but he was one of the few people that saw this coming and said Trump's going to win. So, hey, how about you listen to it? Maybe he knows something that you guys don't.
Did you just call Alex Jones nutty?
No.
Clearly, Tracy Connors, the CIA. You know it. We know it. Everybody knows it.
It's true. I was there the same summer that Anderson Cooper was. It's true.
Well, we only have a couple of minutes before we bring on Michael Walsh. Anything else you want to talk about?
Well, I thought Scott Adams' blog, I recommend everybody read it. He usually has a new post up every day, and this is his post from yesterday. It was called How to Break an Illusion. And this is how to deal in the aftermath with all the hysteria. Right? So he starts, anti-Trump protesters believe they are fighting the good fight to stop a racist, homophobic, sexist monster. But about half the country, the half that I'm in, is in a different movie. In our movie, we selected a new president, and half the country is in cognitive dissonance over it. Assuming the protesters are the ones experiencing the illusion and not us, how can we release them from their zombie-like existence so they will stop blocking traffic? So I'll tell you the general approach. The main thing you have to do is violate the frame. Clinton framed Trump as a monster, And now protesters are locked into that illusion. If Trump does things that can be construed as monster-like, the illusion is strengthened. But every time he violates that framing, the illusion gets a crack. If it cracks enough, it breaks. And that's kind of the tack that I took with my friends that are freaking out, just saying like, hey, list all your fears here so that we can get them out in the open and then we can revisit them in a year, 2 years, whatever, and see if any of them came true. Because I think this is perfectly accurate to say, okay, they've put him in this little box. And now anything that reinforces that BS made up story that they have him locked into is going to hurt. But anything that goes against it is just going to slowly erode that idea over time. And I thought it was interesting because at the end of this, he points out that if Clinton had won, she had a much more difficult frame to break out of. And that was the frame that Trump stuck her in, the crooked frame.
Right.
Because he says for Trump can do stuff like make good on his promise to the inner cities. And that will go a long way into disproving this. He can do stuff like appointing Peter Thiel, an openly gay guy, to his transition team. And they're talking about Richard Grenell, who was, I believe he worked on the Bush administration at the UN. He's openly gay as well, appointing him to be the U.S. ambassador to the UN. So if he keeps promoting these diversity hires, like Ben Carson, et cetera, and women and whatever, this is slowly going to get chipped away at. But he's like, coming back from the idea that you're a crook is a lot harder to break out of, because you can't just go do something nice and then all that goes away. Like, it's very hard to demonstrate not crookedness. So he's saying all Trump basically has to do is save a kitten from a tree.
Right.
And then he's no longer a monster.
I just can't wrap my head around the Trump is anti-gay narrative. It's all Pence.
Yeah.
They try to latch on to the whole RFRA thing here in Indiana, and based on Trump's association with Pence, now all of a sudden Trump hates gay people.
Well, they don't need any basis in fact. They just say it, and they've done this to every Republican, at least in my lifetime. So nobody has any reason to doubt it. It's just, yep, that's true. Here's the video of him standing at the RNC championing gay rights and saying he's so thrilled that Thiel came and he's happy that everybody applauded. Now, it doesn't matter. We know he's secretly against all of this. He is. And it's just, I can't wait till they start. I don't know what the fashion press that I would call them, like the entertainment shallow press, is going to do with Melania.
Yeah.
I mean, Michelle Obama was the most beautiful woman and a style icon, and she had the greatest arms on the face of the earth. Do you remember this?
Yes.
Well, yeah. I don't know if you noticed this because you're a man, so you might not pay attention to such things, no offense. But when Melania went to meet with her, when Donald was down there meeting with Barack, there's a shot of the two of them. And guess whose arms are covered and whose arms are not covered?
Well, I would think that Michelle would actually cover her arms in this situation.
Yep.
Because she's sitting next to a model.
She not only covered her arms, but she was wearing 3/4 length sleeves.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this has got to burn. But I mean, is Anna Wintour, she's at Vanity Fair, I think. She's a fashion maven, and everybody looks to her to set the trends and all this. You know, they kissed up Kanye and Kim until they got the cover over there. So she's at the peak of the fashion mountain, and what she says goes. And is she really going to tell all the designers to not sell to Melania, like not give her custom stuff through the next 4 years?
They'll probably treat her like they treated Nancy Reagan.
Yeah.
It'll be, she'll have access to all that stuff, but now all of a sudden we'll hear once again what all these clothes cost the first lady.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is that she'll be paying for them.
Yes.
I mean, Trump came out on 60 Minutes and said, and I had heard him say this on an interview he did, who's the smart alecky guy that has a show on the Golf Channel? Do you know what I'm talking about? I want to say he's a Scot or a Brit or something.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about, but the name escapes. Tom something or other, or Pete.
Yeah, he did a one-on-one with Trump, and in that, Trump said he wasn't taking a salary.
Yes.
But he didn't say that again until 60 Minutes when he said that, and he said no vacations. And I don't see them kind of living large off of our dime at all.
No.
So, yeah, you can talk about how much her damn dresses cost, but then also make sure to include the fact that they paid for them.
Well, but that doesn't matter. Just it once again rubs it in the poor's face that they can buy gowns like that. Meanwhile, we haven't heard anything over the past 8 years, except from right-wing media, about how much the Obama's vacations have cost, how much Michelle's clothes have cost over the years.
Yeah, remember when she went to the soup kitchen wearing sneakers that cost in excess of $500?
Well, yeah, I mean, even that. Gosh, there were outfits that Hillary wore during the campaign that supposedly cost $10,000. You're like, that cost $10,000? That
and you still look that bad? Yeah, I mean, designers should be thrilled. They should be celebrating that the biggest canvas they have to paint on for the next 4 years is Melania Trump and not Hillary Clinton. But they won't be able to put aside their partisanship to do that, I don't think.
I wonder what Melania's pet issue will be.
Well, she's been talking about, we have to deal with cyberbullying.
Ugh.
Which is kind of like stay out of everybody's face. I mean, she's not going into cafeterias and smacking the food out of the hands of fat kids or anything.
Yeah.
So cyberbullying is kind of What can you do?
It's bad.
Yeah. Stop it. Watch South Park.
It just makes me crazy, though, that whole mentality.
Yeah.
You take it a step further and you get into safe spaces and you keep taking that further. And then all of a sudden, California wants to create its own statewide safe space and seat from the union because people voted for Donald Trump.
Bye. Well, that brings me to the one other article I had pulled up for today was from Bloomberg. Twitter finally answers critics adding tools to curb abuse and harassment. So they're talking about adding a filter that you can use to keep bad words away from you. It's like, well, this is amazing. You know what'll happen? People just start making memes.
Yeah.
Because there's no way for them to read the text on a JPEG. So now we're going to get even more creative with
There's always a way around this stuff.
Sure, but we have to protect everyone. Can't see the bad words.
Well, we should bring Michael Walsh on.
We absolutely should.
I'm going to do that right now.
Great.
Well, we have a lot to talk about, Michael. First of all, if you want to briefly go over what happened before the election, because we really haven't had you on in a while to talk about the Never Trump movement and what happened leading up to the election. You were a vocal pro-Trump person who was pushing back against Never Trump. Your reaction to them post-election now, I guess.
Well, yeah, let me just hey, everybody. Hi. I wasn't so much pro-Trump as I was, in fact, asked by the New York Post on the Sunday op-ed pages leading up to the election, for just about the year before the election, to explain the Trump phenomenon. If you go back and read everything I've ever written about Trump, you won't see me endorsing him in a outright, hey, I love Trump and he's my guy kind of thing. That's not what my job was, or not what I get paid for. And I also don't think, generally speaking, people really care who your candidate is. But what the Post asked me to do, starting with a piece in which I analyzed the phenomenon of the media and the establishments in both parties really hating Trump's voters. And that piece got a Drudge link and a Real Clear Politics link, and it did the usual conservative echo chamber viral thing and was the best read piece in the Post for a week. So, we knew we had tapped into something that was going on there. And that's why the Trump election, while it surprised me in one sense that I thought the Clinton machine would figure out a way to cheat just enough in, hey, Tracy, how about Philadelphia? Yeah, Philadelphia, to give her the election. They didn't, and that was that. So as far as the Never Trump people were concerned, I just didn't understand what their point was. What was the upside for them besides a neologism that I hope will enter the language that I coined called Preenciples? So they were so busy preening about their principles that they forgot what the hell they're in this man's army for in the first place. I read a lot of nonsense about the so-called conservative movement. And oddly enough, I just picked up Eric Hoffer's The True Believer, which I hadn't looked at since I was a college student in the 1960s. And yes, it describes the cretinous morons on the left, but it describes the cretinous morons on the right equally well, that there's a real problem when you become a true believer and you decide that the movement, however defined, is more important than, the country, for example, your continuing job. There were a lot of things that were downsides for them that they just, they walked into that door jam every single time. It was hilarious to watch. So screw them. That's my attitude towards them.
Oh, yeah. You had a special message for them, right? Via the Untouchables. I believe we have that ready to go, right, Fingers?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I'm pulling it up right now. I don't know how well this is going to turn out, but we have a limited budget here on.
That's okay. It's YouTube. There you go.
Let's see here. Come on now.
Dee da dee da dee da dee dee da dee. I want him dead. I don't care. What am I, alone in this world? Did I ask you what you're trying to do? Did I ask you what you're trying to do? I want you to get this fuck where he breathes. I want you to find this Nancy boy Elliot Ness. I want him dead. I want his family dead. I want his house burnt to the ground. I want to go to the middle of the night. I want to piss on his ass.
So that's the message when they try to come crawling back, right, and ask for forgiveness.
That's pretty much the message. I had known deep in my conspiratorial conservative heart from the 80s, when that movie came out, that, of course, The Untouchables, written by David Mamet, that Mamet was one of us, but he just hadn't figured it out yet. And, of course, he was the New York Times' golden boy. Everything he did was wonderful. They reviewed everything. And then the minute he came out of the closet, not in that book, not in, what's it called? I've forgotten off the top of my head, but in an article he did for the Village Voice called Why I Am No Longer a Brain-Dead Liberal, they dropped him. And at the risk of sounding like a total, what's the word, screaming fanboy, I really, really, really liked Mamet. And then when he finally did come out, I knew, hey, brother, welcome home, because all of his plays are about men in conflict and what's the right thing to do and how you do it, even though a lot of people, even friends, are going to take shots at you, betray you, whatever, in the large sense of, obviously, in the untouchable sense. You just have to persevere. So that's Al Capone reacting to some reversal of fortune there. But look, what was in it for them? You guys tell me. What? I asked the heavens. What was in it for them? I don't get it.
Well, I think they. Okay, sorry. You go ahead, Fingers.
Well, I went to Iowa to cover the caucuses and went to several rallies of different candidates. And when I went to a Trump rally in Davenport, Iowa, it must have been about 10,000 people there, and I looked around and it looked like a Tea Party rally to me. Like, okay, these are Tea Partiers. To me, I felt like they were seeing Donald Trump's candidacy and how he spoke and who he was drawing in, and they wanted to make it clear early on that they were not part of the great unwashed. They didn't want to be associated with these rubes that were supporting Donald Trump. They were above all of that. And it really showed me, what made clear to me is this is how they felt about the Tea Party, but it was okay because the Tea Partiers were running out and trying to elect conservative candidates. But now, Donald Trump wasn't a conservative, so these same people that were useful idiots in their minds when they were voting straight Republican ticket and trying to get the House back, now, I can't be associated with these people. Look who they're supporting.
Well, to me, it comes down to they thought, too, they were the intelligentsia of the right. Let's be honest. Most of them think of themselves that way. Whether or not it's true is debatable. But they believed that he was going to go down, and he was going to go down hard, and they were going to be the ones to pick up the pieces of the broken party and put it back together again. And then since they predicted this was all going to happen, they would then take over the seats of power in that little fiefdom. But they were wrong. And they don't understand, because I guarantee you most of them have never read Hoffer. And he pointed out a long time, intellectuals are not where it's at. They are the most useless people in society. And that's why they suck up to power. Because without power to suck up to that'll keep them fed and clothed, they provide absolutely nothing to society. And that everyday average Americans can figure this stuff out on their own. They can breeze through. I think he gave an example of one of the guys that he worked with when he was in the silver mines, I want to say, in Nevada, picked up his Montaigne one night and started reading through it. And he said, Hoffer says to him, well, what do you think about that? And he's like, it's pretty common sense. I can grasp all of this. And they said average Americans are perfectly capable of understanding what the hell is going on. They don't need to be preached to from on high. And I think that's where these guys went wrong.
Well, I think that's absolutely right, Trace. There's an adage in Hollywood. You always want to be slightly ahead of your audience. Never too far out in front of them where they go, shit, this is fucking boring because I have no idea what you're trying to tell me. Or behind them where they go, dude, you just told me that like 2 minutes ago, okay? So you want to be right there. And they got way out of sync with their audience. The audience kept saying, yeah, we get that, but, or as I put it in a piece I did for PJ, let's stipulate that everything the Never Trump pumpkins say about Trump is true. Every single horrible thing, including that he makes them, get their panties in a bunch. So everything's true. Therefore, what? That's all. Those were my questions to them. Therefore, what? And they answered what by shooting us in the back. Mm-hmm. So therefore, I want them dead. I want the family dead. I want the house burned to the ground. I think that's the attitude that a lot of us on the sane right actually have at this point. And so as I was saying about the Post, I did it I'll continue to do it, I hope, for a year, in which if you can go back and Google Michael Walsh, New York Post author archive, you'll see all the articles there lined up, read them in reverse order, and you will see exactly what happened, culminating in my piece 9 days before the election called Trump's Secret Path to 270, where I just laid every single state that he had to win. I laid it out and he won it. So, there. Now what are you going to do, guys?
Wait, you mean it was possible to predict this was going to happen?
Yeah, it was easy. You know what else was interesting? I thought the two polls that were right consistently were the IBD tip poll and the LA Times poll. Oh my God, did they have contempt for the LA Times poll? What the fuck is the LA Times poll trying to, it consistently had Trump ahead by a point or two, which I believe was pretty much right on the money. But the most important thing, and this was very visible in the last 3 or 4 days of the campaign, it started to widen. And a tracking poll is you call the same people every day to see where they're at. Their heads are at. Yeah, you have to pick the right people, but that's what you don't just call up random strangers. So you call these same guys, and they tell you they were like those buoys, the tsunami buoys, way out in the ocean, and you're sitting on the beach there at the Jersey Shore, hypothetically, but way out in the ocean, that buoy's going boing, a boing, a boing, and you go, oh shit! And then 20 minutes later, 20 feet of water comes and crashes into Malaysia or wherever that happened, back on Christmas 6 or 7 years ago. So those buoys were bouncing if you wanted to see them. And the final giveaway was at the end of the campaign, the last day, Trump was in Michigan burning down her houses behind enemy lines. And she was running around like a chicken with Beyonce and Jay-Z and other superannuated rock and roll stars who live in Pacific Palisades and pretend to be from New Jersey. I can't think of who that might be, but hey, she drew 40,000 people. She could have drawn. They could have drawn that without her. I mean, her presence at that rally wasn't even needed. Like, dude, it's a free Bruce Springsteen concert.
And that was supposed to draw out the black vote in Philadelphia, Michael.
Yeah. Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah, Bruce Springsteen, voice of black urban America. Right. Yeah, the guy that wears American flags and pretends to be, working class jersey. Oh, come on. The sheer funniness of that whole campaign was just right there. And Tracy, you're absolutely right. Americans looked and said, "Fuck this shit. Are you kidding me?" And that was that. And a friend of mine lives in Philadelphia, and she said to me, "Should I vote?" And I said, "Absolutely, because your vote is going to negate one of their votes that fell off a truck or got found in a locked room or somewhere. The more you can knock down the margin of cheat, and Philly can't override the rest of the state of Pennsylvania, the better the chance is that he has." So I think Philadelphia voters, take a bow, Miss Connors. They're the ones that won this election for America.
Mm-hmm. I do. And there were a lot of eyes on Philadelphia that day trying to prevent the cheating that we knew was going to happen. And I think they were fairly successful at that, just keeping the pressure on and saying, hey, we're watching. You could tell
early in the night they were saying, I don't think she's getting the votes out of Philadelphia. But, it's like that scene in The Producers where the crazy director comes out from behind the his dressing room, and he comes out and Leo Bloom says to Max Bialystock, "Max, he's wearing a dress." So suddenly, they saw the awful truth right in front of them. Anyway, it was good. Good job, Philadelphia. Way to go.
No, it was.
Well, we also have to thank the corrupt Democrats in the state of Pennsylvania as well, because I'm sure that had something to do with turnout and party lockstep voting, because we've had our attorney general now off the jail. Shaka Fatah. Shaka Fatah, I haven't even seen. He was supposed to get sentenced at the end of October, and I haven't seen that. But his son's already in jail. So there were some high-profile, Democrat corruption cases, and now we're trying to elect the most corrupt woman in the history of electoral politics. You got to figure even the daft can put those two together and say, maybe I don't want any more of this.
Yeah, I think that was a good deal sending that AG off to the can, because getting her out of the way was probably fairly important in case there were to be any, electoral challenges in Philadelphia or anything involving the legal. It was just great to watch that poor lady just say, the jury, again, the producers, Your Honor, we find the defendant incredibly guilty. So off she went.
And she was a Clinton. The Clinton, at least their inner circle was protecting her. Her first attorney, or at least spokesperson on television, was Lanny Davis.
Oh, boy.
And his defense was, this is the old boys club. They hate that we have a woman for the first time as the attorney general. That's all this is. Right.
That's all. Really, they got stripped naked this election, and everybody finally sees them for what they are. They're pathetic, shriveled dick, little nasty communists whose only explanation for anything is you're a racist, you're a sexist, fuck you. So that's what America said. Michael Moore was absolutely right. This is going to be the biggest fuck you in the history of American politics. And it was. Yay.
I was just amazed at the amount of people who didn't understand in the New York City, Washington, D.C. media bubble, how his message would resonate in the Rust Belt. I'm originally from Michigan. I've got ties to the auto industry, know a lot of United Auto Workers who were from the very beginning on the Trump train. And I told Tracy on several occasions I thought he was going to carry Michigan just because of, bringing those old Reagan Democrats back over to the Republican side. It was just a matter of so many of those people. I mean, you look at the numbers, at General Motors and Chrysler, the job losses. Were there enough of those Reagan Democrats to sway the vote in Michigan? And it turns out that may be the case, that was what that message brought him over the top.
Yeah, definitely Michigan was another hero. What I said in that piece just for the election was that he had to do really just a couple of things. One was hold all the states Romney had won. So it's really hard to do worse than Romney, let's face it. So except for North Carolina, which was going to be a little bit tricky, and I was actually down in North Carolina like 4 days before the election, so I felt pretty good about North Carolina coming back. But he had to flip Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Florida. And if he did that, everything else was gravy. He almost took Virginia, and then he took Wisconsin and Michigan, of course. And the other point to make is that, yeah, it's a 50-state election, but fingers, as you know, the states bleed into each other. You know, people will tell you, well, the southern part of Missouri might as well be Alabama, or the western part of Pennsylvania might as well be Alabama, which is definitely true. But, you know, what happens in Ohio doesn't stay in Ohio, and it touches Pittsburgh, and it touches West Virginia, and then it goes through that little corridor of Indiana, and it goes up into Michigan, and that's exactly what happened. It just bled in enough directions that she couldn't hang on to the states that she, you know, she didn't even campaign in Wisconsin, for crying out loud. And they sent Russ Feingold home in a pine box. That was great, and Evan Bayh, too. So, you know, when Feingold was going down, Ron Johnson is wonderful. Have you ever heard him speak? He's smart. He's a businessman. He's common sense guy, but you've got the charisma of a rutabaga. So he had not only unseated Feingold, he beat him again. And let's give a little shout out to my guy, Scott Walker, who once again shoved Wisconsin up their ass. I mean, how can you not love this stuff? It's great.
Yeah, and we kept hearing that the Trump candidacy was going to hurt the down ticket people, and come election night, we find out that he had coattails.
Yeah, this is amazing. This is another thing all the never-Trumpers said. Well, he's going to hurt the down. What are you talking about, for Christ's sake? Marco Rubio, Mr. Foam Party, got reelected here on Florida at the moment handily, right? And Johnson won. And the only person who didn't win was Ayotte, and she shot Trump in the back. How about that? Yeah. Honest to God, I mean, do they learn any lessons from this? No, they don't. They're still, a week later, they are writing anti-Trump articles like it never went out of style. It's just amazing. Now they're, of course, attacking my friend Steve Bannon. I mean, good Lord, what a mistake. When Bannon got hired, a lot of people on the left went, ha, that's the end of Trump, whoa. And then the right said, oh, my God, Steve Bannon, Breitbart. And I said, well, dude, first of all, I'm one of the people who started the whole Breitbart empire. I was the founding editor of bigjournalism.com, and probably, I think, Andrew's third hire. And so at the beginning, it was just 5 or 6 of us, and that was it. So meanwhile, now it's grown into this monster, and you're shouting at Breitbart, and you're impugning this guy who's done nothing but be successful. And I told them, do not underestimate Steve Bannon. He may not be lovable. I'm not lovable, but A, he's right, and he's ruthless, and he will defeat you. The end. And they looked at me like, what do I know? Well, ha again. I get to laugh a lot today. I'm in a good mood.
Well, Tracy and I were talking about this before we brought you on, because, you know, being in the movement as long as we have, we've talked to people on the right, and there are many people that don't like Steve. Many of my friends that, you know, used to work at Breitbart who no longer work there anymore, they talk about... He was
mean to them, Michael. Can you believe that?
You know, you're friends with him. Tell us what kind of guy he's like, because, you know, if you just listen to these people, you would think that he is the second coming of Satan.
Well, you know, I've never worked with or for Steve. I was gone from Breitbart. Andrew fired me because he thought I was insufficiently zealous in going after the left. Oops. Well, so I haven't worked with Steve. So I have never reported to him, and I've never taken a paycheck from Steve. Unlike some people who have taken a paycheck from Steve and then trash him, that's a real manly thing to do. I interact with Steve purely on an equals level. I've been on the radio show from Ireland or from wherever in the world I happen to be. We share a lot of the same impulses, fighting techniques, and philosophy. And is he a nice guy? No, he's not a nice guy. So what? You want a nice guy on your team? You can lose with Mitt Romney.
Well, it reminds me of one of my favorite Trump quotes, and I'm going to butcher it, but it was from, I think, maybe the big rally he had in Alabama early on in the primary, when he said, we're going to bring in, I've got these guys, they're absolute killers, and we're going to bring them in to negotiate these trade deals. He's like, they're awful people. And then he goes, well, actually, some of them are pretty nice. But you know what? No, they're really terrible people. But you want them on your side.
You do.
Yes.
Yeah. Look, when you're in legal trouble, you want the meanest son of a bitch lawyer that money can freaking buy, right? You do. Mm-hmm. You don't want him to be nice. You want him to win. Big difference. That's true of doctors. You don't want a nice guy being your doctor. You want a little guy that swaggers in and says, we're going to kick this thing's ass, and he does. That's what you want. This was really a reestablishment. I think about this overnight, Trace. This is a reestablishment of alpha male principles. So the alpha males have been marginalized by feminists. Tracy and I were talking about this a little bit last night, by fat, ugly chicks that can't get dates. But, you need us when the World Trade Center collapses, or when the shit hits the fan, or when you need something lifted and you need your luggage stowed in the overhead compartment. On whatever level it is, you can't marginalize and try to demonize maleness, because in the end, as my beloved Philadelphia girlfriend Camille Paglia likes to say, you need men. If she says, Paglia said famously, if civilization were left to women, we'd all still be living in grass huts. So, don't blame me for that one. Then blame Camille. But it's true. And so you got an alpha male running against, I don't quite know how to describe Hillary, a crime syndicate gun mall, basically. And you're surprised he beat her? I mean, let's just go on and forget. Here's the best part about this election. Forget the politics. Oh, my God, did the crack cadres of campaign consultants ever get their ass handed to them? Trump showed you can run for president and spend 3.5 cents a vote on Twitter. It's free. Dude, run for president. And Jeb Bush went through $100 million to let Mike Murphy steer his campaign right over the cliff. You don't need Murphy anymore. You don't need Rick Wilson anymore. You don't need who else? All the losers campaign managers, because their metric is wrong when the electorate says we don't care about your metric, which is what happened. So all those guys, I would be heading for vocational retraining right about now.
Maybe they can help build the wall. I mean, that's pretty simple, right?
Yeah, but they're all a little old for that. So I just think computer programmer might be a job in their future. That's my guess. Yeah, it's really. No, you can run. Anybody. Hey, any boy can run for president. Any girl can run for president. All she needs is a Twitter account and Facebook. That's a great. That is the most democratizing thing you could possibly say about this election.
Yes, and I don't know if you caught the 60 Minutes interview or not, Michael.
No, I didn't. Trump. Yeah,
it's pretty interesting. They have it up on CBS. You can watch it. And Leslie Stahl is just, are you going to keep tweeting when you're the president? Is that really going to happen? And he said, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Why wouldn't I? It's the best way to get to my people directly. He said, if you guys put out a crappy story about me, and he's like, CBS would never do this, of course. I can go right to my people, and I can set the record straight. Yeah.
No, this is a very Reagan-esque thing. Reagan famously went over the heads of the media right to the people. And what the Democrat philosophy was, let's go over the heads of the people right to the media. But the media are out of work. That's the point. They all just got fired on Celebrity Apprentice. But
it hasn't sunk into them yet at all. They've learned zero lessons from this.
Yeah, they are like the Bourbons. They've learned nothing and forgotten nothing. And so what they haven't forgotten is all the wrong lessons. And look, I started in journalism I think I got paid for my first published piece in 1971. And by 72, I had a regular job on the Rochester, New York Democrat and Chronicle. Great newspaper. It was wonderful. A lot of good journalists came out of that little old town in the middle of nowhere, upstate New York. Loved it. But the principles that we learned then, which was Watergate, because that came around in, 73, 74, right, are no longer applicable. And what many of the kids who went into journalism then and are continuing to go into it now, they want to change the world. But they weren't smart enough to get into law school. So rather than being a lawyer, they decided to be a journalist and advocate for social change that way. Well, they did as well as they could, and they moved the ball very far down the field to the left side. But this was the point of you can't get into the end zone with this essentially cultural Marxist philosophy. And the American people, caused a fumble at the 20, and they ran it back for a touchdown. So how in a football game when that happens, that's even better. You're on the goal line, right? You fumble the goal line, somebody picks up the ball and runs it back 99 yards for a touchdown really takes the wind out of the sails of the team that just fumbled. So that's where we're at with the media right now. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm thrilled, and I hope they keep attacking Steve Bannon because he's not going anywhere. And we know for certain, because of our interactions with him, that he understands who the enemy really is and how to fight them appropriately.
Yes, he has never not. This is why Steve and I get along. He's never not understood who the enemy was. And I think all of us at Breitbart in the early days understood who the enemy. Mike Flynn certainly did, may he rest in peace. And John Nolte still does, although he's left Breitbart. He didn't want to work for Steve, and he said that in publicly on his massive Twitter feed, by the way. Yeah. Who else was there? I bumped into Peter Schweitzer the other day, and I think, Peter's an unsung hero of this.
Yes.
Clinton Cash put a hell of a hole in this crime syndicate. It just, people said, wait a minute, you were dead broke, and now you're multi. What the fuck is that all about? Have you ever done anything to earn that money? Have you written a bestseller? Have you made a hit movie? Have you invented a cure for cancer? Did you build a better mousetrap? No, you got bribed. That's what happened.
But they do really good work, Michael.
Yeah, they do. Let's ask Haiti. I'm sure Haiti will know. Good God. It's a crime syndicate operating openly and brazenly. And finally, Peter Schweitzer, who was the editor at Big Peace, it was called, he nailed him. And I was happy to pick up that information. I saw a very early screening of the doc that Bannon did with Peter on that book, and I was able to write about it in the Post. And another piece that Drudge picked up and Real Clear picked up, and it went viral, and all of a sudden, from the Post's whatever readership, 500,000 to 800,000, whatever it is in New York on Sunday, close to 1 million. Yeah, but now you're getting 60, 70 million viewers around the country. And people go, hey, Jesus, Mildred, did you see this? And that's how we beat them. It was the small furry mammals getting out of the way of the dinosaur when the meteor hit, and then they all fell over.
I just don't.
Today's fun.
I just don't know if I can stomach much more of this Clinton Foundation bashing. I mean, between them doing good work, we now find out from WikiLeaks that they do weddings, which is nice.
Yeah. And bar mitzvahs probably too. I mean, here's the best news. There's a scurrilous rumor, which of course I would never spread under normal circumstances, but it's all over the internet. So I feel like I must report it. That she went apeshit when she lost and destroyed one of the rooms in the Javits Center, threw a bottle of champagne through a flat screen television, demolished the victory cake in the shape of the White House. It really was. I tweeted that night, the Clintons are going out like the classless punks that they really are. That she couldn't come out and say, thank you. Hey, fuck you, lady. Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, and all the saints in heaven. No, again, there's even more scurrilous that she was practically physically assaulting Robbie Mook and John Podesta. And then, of course, that was Podesta that came out in the middle of the night to tell people, don't give up, we'll get them tomorrow. Ha ha. It's just, wow, she's just a horrible human being. And I think, why aren't I 50 points ahead? You might ask. Yeah. Well, hey, lady, now you know. Ha ha. Yeah. I'll feed her saying Clinton's goodbye. I don't really see that Chelsea is going to be.
No.
Look, the dog pulled the curtain away from the Wizard of Oz, and everyone says, "Wow, he's just a fat little guy." Who knew? And that's the Clintons. Let them go away. The foundation should continue to be investigated. They should be stripped of all their ill-gotten gains if it's a criminal enterprise. They should use the RICO statutes. I've been saying this for years now. Use the RICO statutes against them, and then roll. I said after the Comey announcement, the first one, I said, gee, I hope it occurs to the Clintons that from now on she's wearing a wire, man. So that's why she wasn't on the campaign plane for the next 3 days. P.S. They really couldn't risk that they had flipped. The FBI likes to flip the little guy to get to the next guy and all the way up the chain until they can get Capone, and that's what they're trying to do here. So the New York Police Department has an investigation going into the Wiener thing, and they don't care at all what the Department of Justice does. And this is an important point for everyone to remember. New York City Police Department is ferociously independent. They have their own special intelligence force. Their attitude as far as 9/11 is never again. We won't trust the feds. We won't trust anybody. We will only trust our guys right here in New York and all over the place. They have officers in Tel Aviv, Israel. They have officers attached to Interpol in Europe. So the New York City Police Department traditionally has hated the FBI and the federal government, and they're not going to give them the time of day. They're going to do whatever it takes to keep New York safe and track down these dirtbags.
Well, Michael, I know you're a busy man, and I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. It's been a half an hour, so we'll let you go. Is there anything that our listeners should know about regarding your schedule, what's coming up in the next few days that they should be looking for?
No, I'm still traveling. I've been on the road for almost a year now with The Devil's Pleasure Palace, my little book about poetry and classical music and good and evil that somehow has managed to stay on the bestseller list for a year. So I'm very grateful to the readers for making that little book a hit. And there's another one coming, so I'm about to go back up to New England and then home to Ireland and write that over the next several months. But so you can watch me on PJ Media, where we had our best month ever in October. That site continues to improve, and it's reader-friendly. It's got some formidably good people attached to it, including David Goldman, who's probably the smartest man in America, Roger Simon, good buddy of mine and one of the founders of PJ Media, Roger Kimball, who was the publisher of Encounter, therefore the publisher of Devil's Pleasure Palace, Andrew Klavan, who started out as a never-Trumper and then had a come-to-Jesus moment, literally, because Andrew's just written a wonderful book called The Great Good Thing about his conversion from being a secular Jew to a religious Christian. It's a moving, beautifully written, as you'd expect from Drew, a book about a personal journey, and I encourage everybody to read that. So those are just some of our marquee columnists at PJ, and I don't know a better group. Let me just say this. When I worked at Time Magazine in the 80s, our cultural staff in the mid-'80s was as good a cultural staff as any magazine has ever had, including The New Yorker. And our managing editor, Ray Cave, who was not one given to encomia or staff meetings for that matter, called staff meeting, and someone had just written about how good the cultural staff was, and he called everybody in and he said, "I just wanted you guys to know how proud I am to be standing here in front of you today." And that was a hell of a murder. That was the 27 Yankees. Well, we now have the 28 Yankees heading to the 27 Yankees at PJ. So please do check us out every day. There's something there to offend or make your heart sing for everybody.
And where can everyone find you on Twitter?
D. Kahane Rules. I used my old pen name, character name from National Review, David Kahane, and a friend of mine, Gina Loudon, actually, who's Little Miss Twitter, he's a radio talk show host and everything, set me up on Twitter right there at one of the nice watering holes in Santa Monica. And she said, "Michael, come on, you got to get on Twitter." So, "What do you want to be?" I said, "How about David Kahane?" She said, "That's taken." I said, "Okay, well, how about D. Kahane Rules?" Because the book that I wrote was called Rules for Radical Conservatives, and that's now available in a new updated edition on Twitter under my name as well as David's name. Anyway, DKAHANE Rules will get you to me. I think on Twitter at the moment I'm using my Irish name. All of us in Ireland, as Miss Connors will find out when she ever comes to visit, have two names. We have our white boy name, and then we have our real name. So now that I live in Ireland as much as possible, and the last 2 years for sure, my friends there just started calling me by my Irish name, and so I'm used to it now. And so I decided to make that my Twitter name, but the handle is at D. Kahane Rules. So look for that, or look for Michal Bernoff, and you'll get to me.
Excellent.
Michael Walsh, everyone, thank you so much.
Hey, fingers, you're Irish too, for God's sake. Get over there. Get your real name going. We'll have a party.
I want a real Guinness, not the stuff they serve over here. So.
Oh no! You want a real Guinness and you want a real Smithwick's.
Yes.
Yeah, and then that's the entry fee, and then we'll go from there into whiskeys and all sorts of yummy things. So.
What could go wrong?
Open invitation there, guys. All right, thanks so much. Call me again, and we'll rub it in even more. How about that?
Sounds good. Take care.
Okay.
See it.
Bye-bye.
Oh man.
Oh, that's a great guy. No, I kind of wanted to get a glimpse, kind of behind the curtain as to what kind of guy Steve Bannon is like, because we've talked about it for a while now. He's been good to us, but we've never worked for him. I just can't make that leap from he can be a jerk to, well, obviously he is an anti-Semite, just because I don't like him. I mean, that's...
show me any evidence. I mean, there's a quote from his wife in divorce filings or something like this, that he didn't want his kids going to school with a bunch of, I believe it's whiny Jews. Okay.
I don't know if I would want people to judge my character based on what one of my exes has to say about me.
Right. No, but that's all it takes. Just that one little shred in a contentious divorce filing. That's enough proof. Forget everything else that you see over here.
Yeah.
That's contrary to that. The mountain of evidence that tells me that that's probably not how he feels.
Yeah, we just completely... many people on the right have completely lost their minds. I mean, I don't like what Breitbart has become in a lot of ways. Just recently, I brought up the story. The way they reported the Paul Ryan primary, you would have thought that he was going to get smoked, the cheerleading that was going on. So I get where people point to Breitbart and say, I don't like the way it is now. I liked it back when Andrew ran it. And, we brought up earlier the disgruntled former employees who talk about how much of a pain in the ass it was to work for him, and he's not a good guy. Okay, I'm listening to all that. I'm looking at Breitbart. You have me. But then when you start going from there to... he hates the Jews. He's a white supremacist. You lose me, man.
Yeah. No, and I haven't seen it yet, but there's a clip floating around of Joel Pollak out defending him on Don Lemon last night, I guess, and shutting all that crap down. But our favorite, he could have been president if he had just won Utah, Evan McMullin.
Yes.
Is out there spreading this garbage as well. And I can guarantee who's fanning the flames and feeding him information behind the scenes about how awful Steve Bannon is. And the thing is, to me, like his background, he's naval officer, then he was at Goldman Sachs, and then he went into Hollywood and was an executive producer, I believe. He behaves like the executive producers I worked under.
Really?
Yeah, they're gruff. They've got to watch the budget. They got to make sure everything stays on time. They're the boss. So the directors can kind of go do their own thing and all of that stuff. They take care of the day-to-day running of things. And guess what? They're like drill sergeants. And they can be mean. But you have to understand that that's not personal. That's just work.
It's business.
It is. It's total business. And he's been nothing but wonderful to us. And going to the parties at their house, he's a gracious host. He stands out front and shakes everybody's hand as they come in instead of actually partaking in the party.
Yeah.
Which I find just astonishing.
We did a show the night Andrew died. Either the night Andrew died or the next day, but I think we did a 2-hour special on FTR Radio on the Snark Factor. And Steve came on the show. I mean, it must have been a horrible time. I mean, it was a horrible time for everyone there. And he came on, no problem whatsoever, was a great guest. There have been other times when I've gone to, either, like you said, one of the Breitbart parties, or they had... what was it, 2 years ago, the uninvited panel.
They had their own separate CPAC going on, remember? That was
Right.
the uninvited entirely. Yeah.
And I was the only one that covered it for radio-wise. I went over there.
Right, and Steve set us up.
Yeah.
He said, here's a table for you. You guys are welcome to interview whoever you want.
Came down and, sat down, and, it was a busy time for him. Talked to us for like 15 minutes on the air.
Yeah.
I got nothing but good things to say about the guy, but again, I've never worked for him, but I've worked for a lot of people who were demanding.
No, and it's funny because they've also always been very welcoming of even lefty writers.
Yeah.
Olivia Nuzzi, who's been a pain in the ass, and she's the idiot that that made Pepe the hate symbol based off of reporting she got from 2 trolls. And this is where I say that the Gamergate kids came into the Trump camp and they love trolling stuff into reality. They call this meme magic, where you can get things off of the 4chan boards and report it on the mainstream news. So they were like, oh, let's just say that Pepe is, he's an alt-right nationalist symbol, basically akin to the swastika. And they fed her this line of crap and she ran with it. And we missed her, but apparently she was at the Breitbart party this year at CPAC. I know that Erin Ryan, who was at Jezebel, and now I think she's at Vocative, maybe, another, lefty writer who's pretty open-minded. She was at the party.
I'd forgotten about the Breitbart party we went to this year.
Yeah. It was pretty inclusive.
It's amazing how many people who privately will drink Breitbart's booze and not have a problem with it will publicly denounce him as an anti-Semite. It's amazing. Amazing.
Well, and if you just look at the
principles, Tracy. Principles.
Right. Well, I like that. Preenciples.
Yeah, that's
pretty good. I think we need to make that a thing.
Well.
Yeah, well, this will continue. They're going to go nuts. And obviously, it's the left trying to protect their own ass because Bannon's got their number. And now they should be quaking in their boots, which they are. They don't know what the hell to do. They've never, I don't even think Reagan kind of gave them the what for, but they have no idea what to expect out of Trump. As far as when they start acting up and whining about, we're killing grandma and handicapped kids everywhere are going to get beat up tomorrow.
Well, none of these people do. The right didn't understand them.
Yeah.
Totally different animal.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's actually made some people nervous about Trump that have been Trump supporters. They keep waiting for him to be Republicanized.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing the pressure out on the streets. We got to, you're seeing this on our side, people coming out and saying, well, we need to reach across the aisle and work with these people and calm them down. It's like, well, no, not really. We won. We won. The only thing, what are you going to do? Say if you go ahead and, okay, you're not going to pursue a special prosecutor when it comes to Hillary Clinton's emails or the Clinton Foundation or anything else. Is that going to make the left hate Trump any less?
Right. No, they'll pretend that it will. That's why you hear them already. Like, let's put the past behind us. I don't remember them doing that when Obama got in and they wanted everybody prosecuted for war crimes.
That's right. I think that Trump should show as much respect to these protesters as Obama did to the Tea Party.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? I applaud him because on that 60 Minutes thing, Leslie Stahl was pushing really hard because she's going with all the fake hate crime stuff and your supporters are out of control, Mr. Trump. And he said, I don't know. I haven't seen very many reports about this. But she's like, well, if they're true, what would you say to them? And he said, I would say, and he looked right in the camera, stop it. Stop it right now. And that's incredibly refreshing to hear after 8 years of just the CVS did what today? Let's go get it.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. And I think that's what he'll do from here on out. Like, just stop it. If any of my people are out there, cut it the hell out. I don't think that they are. But if they are, knock it off. Has
Hillary or Obama come out and said anything about the rioters? To his credit, Bernie Sanders has come out and said, don't be violent.
Sure.
If you're a Bernie supporter, even though, there was footage of at least one, and I'm just assuming they're Bernie supporters, which isn't fair, but what the hell? It's our show. I'm going to just assume. The one woman who shat in public.
What?
Oh, you didn't see that? There's a woman took a big crap on a Trump Pence sign at a rally. Dropped
video of this?
Dropped the pants. Took a deuce.
Wow.
Right on a Trump Pence sign. So, but to Bernie Sanders' credit, he at least came out and said, hey, this is unacceptable. I haven't seen anything. I guess Hillary is making her first public appearance today?
Oh, thank God. I was worried that we were never going to see her again.
Right? I believe Wednesday she's going to make her first public appearance. But Trump is supposed to come out and denounce all of these supposed Trump stormtroopers going around harassing Latinos and Muslims and gays, but we're not hearing much from the left regarding all of these riots in the streets over the election.
No,
results.
well, I like I said earlier, I have a lot of friends. I lived in Portland for a year. 96% of my friends out there, I'm going to say, are lefties. Some of them are hard left and some of them are more reasonable. And the more reasonable ones are all over their Facebook saying, like, guys, this has got to stop. Because what's happened is this is exactly what I witnessed when I went to the Occupy National Gathering and when I went to the DNC. There are two factions within this revolt, these protests and such. There's the faction that is mislabeled as just anarchists. They're actually anarcho-communists. And then there's the peaceful kind of hippy-dippy, the kids that were running around with Grateful Dead, Bernie pins, that kind of thing. Like, and they legitimately, we were standing outside of the fence one night, and I think some of this video is up on Breitbart, where the two factions are warring with each other in front of everybody's eyes. Where there's some of them that are saying, like, hell no, we're not taking any prisoners. Like, we will bring the violence if we need to. And there's the other group saying, we will not hurt anybody. This is a peaceful movement. And that's what you've got going on, but nobody digs in there to show you this. So then what happens, I've seen some of my friends talk about this. They're like, well, there are violent infiltrators that come in and use the safety of the crowd and the anonymity provided by the crowd to do terrible, violent things and, like, break stuff and hurt people and all of this. And then that gets the entire movement cast in that negative light. And they really need to start throwing those people out, but they're not going to do it.
5 years ago, I was at a FreedomWorks event called BlogCon, and it was in Denver. And this was right in the middle of the whole Occupy Wall Street thing. And Occupy Wall Street, Occupy Denver was really upset that there was a right-wing conference going on in downtown Denver. So they stormed our hotel during the conference, tried to disrupt it. We had one guy got arrested. He ran into Radio Row and took Tony Katz's producer's chair away from her. Tony went crazy. It was some of the best radio you'll ever hear in your life. In fact, I was interviewing, it was me, Jimmy Bice was sitting in with me, and we were interviewing Amelia Hamilton. And I told everybody to shut up at our table, and I turned my microphone toward Tony's table to catch the audio of Tony yelling at this Occupy Denver guy. But like you said, of course, that's unacceptable, storming the hotel and trying to disrupt things. You can't just protest outside. Well, later they came back again to the hotel, but they stayed outside, and they tried to make peace. So you had these people like you're talking about. They're like, okay, we can just agree to disagree. But maybe there are things we have common ground on, and they started talking about the things that we had common ground with Occupy Wall Street, and there were people on our side that were nodding. And then, sure as shit, you had this one person from Occupy. It was actually a woman, looked like she was a linebacker for the Broncos, weighed about 210 pounds, had enough of all this, everyone getting along. This is bullshit. She starts shoving Steven Crowder. Shoving him, and he's like, well, listen, fella,
there's video of this, isn't there?
I think there's video of it somewhere, but that goes hand in hand with what you're saying. You've got this one part of the movement that's like, okay, we just all get along, maybe we'll agree to disagree. And then you got this other part of the movement that's like, screw that, let's kick some skulls.
Yes. And the left has always had that tendency. I think a lot of decent, good-minded, utopian people just go along with that, not realizing that they're linking arms with a very violent faction of the left.
But I was referring to more of the Barack Obamas, the leaders of, in Washington that could try to
they have no interest in doing that.
No, they're fanning the flames is what they're doing.
Those flames have been fanned for the last 8 years.
Yes.
I mean, the first one that stands out in my head is the police acted stupidly.
Yeah.
And that was the first incident. And I saw Gates has come out and trash Trump, of course. That's the professor that was involved in that little altercation. Mm-hmm. And it's really stunning. But I did listen to, I have an affection for Glenn Lowry, who is a professor at Brown. And he has a show, blogging heads on that network. And I can't remember the name of the other professor that he had on. And Glenn has been not pro-Trump, but he's very like, okay, let's go over the facts and evidence. So he pushed back really hard on the whole, Trump said the Mexican judge can't be fair because he's Mexican. And then presented all the information about the judge, and then also pointed out, Sonia Sotomayor is onward saying, I would make different decisions because I'm a Latina, and championing her heritage in this regard. And we're supposed to say, okay, Trump's over here being racist. But anyway, he had this other professor on, and this professor is just absolutely beside himself. Still can't, admit what the problem was with the emails, why that should be an issue. And then he's saying, okay, if they want any credibility and to bring people back to sanity, what they need to do is they need to reach out, you're going to love this, to the Romneys, to the Bushes, to the more sane and moderate Republicans, because he's like, I would much rather have Mitt Romney be the president than, well, maybe you shouldn't have turned him into an evil asshole that was killing people.
Right.
And strapping dogs willy-nilly to roofs and then, torturing a gay kid in high school. You had a choir boy. There's probably not a cleaner soul on the planet that was willing to run for that position, and you guys demonized the hell out of him. But now you're telling Trump that he should reach out to these guys and bring them into his administration to calm you? I don't think so. I don't think that's going to happen at all. And Larry pushed back, and he was wonderful, and I would recommend listening to it. It's an interesting podcast, and I do like that he always plays devil's advocate. And so, shouldn't we give him a chance to do some stuff? See where he goes with this? Because we actually have no clue, at least the people that only paid attention to media reports, about what his actual policies are. He's like, I looked at them, so I'm not surprised by some of these things that are coming out. Like, oh my God, he's changing his position on Obamacare. Yeah, no, he's not.
They are
not even a little bit.
They are terrified, and it's not just because he is going to dismantle what's ever left of Obama's legacy. If he actually comes through on some of these promises regarding the inner cities,
yes, they're toast.
If he's not anti-gay,
mm-hmm.
they're really going to forget the Democrats. A couple of weeks ago, gloating about how they were going to go into red states to try to turn them.
Texas was on the brink,
right?
You'll remember.
You're going to have the Republican Party, or at least the Trumpican Party, chipping at Democrats' base, and it terrifies them.
Yeah. Well, and it goes back to Scott Adams, the breaking out of the frame, which I have no doubt he'll be able to do. So once he's broken that frame just for himself, that will redound to the rest of the party, I believe.
Well, I'll be very interested to see what his plan is for the inner cities, if it's going to be similar to what Jack Kemp was talking about in the 80s. Just any businesses that go down there, you don't pay any federal tax.
Yeah.
Just get some economic activity going on in the inner cities. Do something.
Sure.
Get these people work that have been too long and just been in a state of hopelessness because nothing ever changes. It'll be nice to see something happen. And you did see Rand Paul going into the inner cities, but that was about it as far as Republicans go.
Sure.
To have Trump actually address these issues, and if he follows through on some of it, it's going to be amazing to watch.
Yeah, I mean, if you cut the regulatory burden for opening a small business, that could have huge ripple effects.
Yeah.
Not to mention the corporate tax cuts and the individual tax cuts, just those alone. And then him going out there and just day after day saying we're winning again. I mean, that seems silly, but raising the national self-esteem, I think, makes a huge difference.
Those are
when people have legitimate hope instead of that phony, Obama's going to pay all my bills. That's not realistic. I'm sorry, lady. No. But hey, if we all get to work and we all believe that we can make change for the good, and these are the steps that I'm taking as your president to do this, but I need you on board as well to get out there and get what you can because the getting's good. I think we could see a huge shift.
Yep. Well, we've been talking for 2 hours.
I know. It's time to shut up already.
Where can everyone find the Enough Already podcast?
You can find us on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, SoundCloud, on Facebook, and at enoughalreadypodcast.com.
Follow her on Twitter at Tracy L. Connors. Follow me on Twitter at Fingers Malloy. Music for the Enough Already podcast is provided to us courtesy of YoPaulyMusic.com. Go check out Paul Croteau's work there. Well, we need to thank Michael Walsh for joining us. And other than that, anything else, Tracy?
I don't think so.
All right, we'll be back with an all-new Enough Already podcast next week.